In the early 19th century, as Europe emerged from the chaos of the Napoleonic Wars, a wave of speculative frenzy swept across Britain. Investors, hungry for riches in far-flung colonies, poured money into ventures promising untold wealth. Amid this gold rush atmosphere, a charismatic Scottish soldier named Gregor MacGregor saw an opportunity, not to build an empire, but to invent one. His creation, a fictional Central American utopia called Poyais, would become the stage for one of history's most brazen financial scams. A tale of greed, deception, and human folly that still echoes in modern frauds. The mastermind, Gregor MacGregor's dark ambition. Gregor MacGregor was no ordinary conman. A veteran of South America's wars of independence, he had fought alongside revolutionary leaders like Simón Bolívar. But by 1820, MacGregor's fortunes had dwindled. Returning to London, he spun his military service into a web of lies, claiming he'd been appointed cacique, chief, of Poyais, a fertile, mineral-rich territory on the Mosquito Coast, modern-day Honduras. MacGregor's genius lay in his understanding of human psychology. He knew Britain's middle class craved the prestige of colonial landownership. He also recognized that few would question the existence of a distant paradise, especially one backed by forged maps, counterfeit currency, and a 350-page guidebook extolling Poyais' virtues. The guide, Sketch of the Mosquito Shore, described bustling cities, fertile soil, and even a ready-made government. Investors swallowed the fantasy whole. The scam unfolds. Selling a mirage in 1822, MacGregor launched his scheme with theatrical flair. He opened a Poyaisian embassy in London, hosted lavish dinners, and sold land certificates at 3 shillings per acre. Bonds for the Poyaisian government promised 6% annual returns. Even the Church of England was duped into appointing a bishop for Poyais. Over 250 settlers, craftsmen, doctors, and soldiers sold their life savings to book passage on ships bound for this promised land. The reality was horrifying. When settlers arrived in 1823, they found not a thriving colony but a malarial swamp. There were no cities, no infrastructure, and no preparations. Supplies ran out within weeks. Mosquitoes and disease picked off the stranded pioneers. Fewer than 50 survived. Back in Britain, MacGregor shrugged off the disaster, blaming unforeseen hardships. The escape. A conman's second act. MacGregor's audacity knew no bounds. As Poyais collapsed, he fled to France and repeated the scam in Paris. This time, he sold military commissions in the Poyaisian army to eager Frenchmen. When authorities finally arrested him, MacGregor turned his trial into a spectacle. He argued that Poyais did exist, as a legal fiction recognized by indigenous leaders. The court, bewildered, acquitted him. By the 1830s, MacGregor had retreated to Venezuela, where he improbably received a state pension for his past military service. He died in 1845, never expressing remorse. Meanwhile, survivors of Poyais languished in obscurity, their stories buried by shame and the era's lack of media scrutiny. The legacy. Lessons from a phantom nation. The Poyais scam was more than a financial fraud. It was a psychological experiment in mass delusion. MacGregor exploited 3 timeless vulnerabilities: colonial arrogance. Europeans assumed uncivilized lands were theirs to claim, no questions asked. Social proof. Elites, bankers, nobles, and clergy endorsed Poyais, lending it credibility. The myth of the easy fortune. Investors ignored red flags, blinded by the dream of effortless wealth. The scandal also exposed regulatory gaps. No laws stopped MacGregor from selling bonds for a non-existent nation. Only in 1825, after the crash of similar schemes, did Britain pass its first stock fraud legislation. Why Poyais matters today. The Poyais scam is a mirror for modern financial folly. MacGregor's tactics, fake documents, celebrity endorsements, and exploiting FOMO, fear of missing out, are hallmarks of today's crypto scams and NFT rug pulls. Consider the parallels. Theranos sold a vision of revolutionary technology with no working product. FTX used charismatic leadership to mask financial holes. Ponzi schemes rely on the same too good to be true, allure as Poyais bonds. Yet Poyais stands apart in its sheer theatricality. McGregor didn't just steal money, he invented an entire nation, a feat that required imagination as much as ruthlessness. His story forces us to ask, what makes us believe in lies? Is it greed, naivety, or the intoxicating power of a well-told story? Epilogue. The ghost of Poyais today. The Mosquito Coast remains sparsely populated, its jungles indifferent to the dreams and deaths of McGregor's victims. But the scam's legacy lingers. In 2020, historians discovered that McGregor's descendants still hold disputed land titles to Poyais, a surreal footnote to a saga that blurs the line between reality and fiction. The next time you hear promises of guaranteed returns or revolutionary investments, remember Poyais. As McGregor proved, the most dangerous scams aren't those that trick our wallets. They're the ones that hijack our imagination.